It was a very convoluted time. There were a multitude of secret societies.
From about 1888, well into the 1920s, hundreds of secret societies formed, reformed, and gave birth to new and even more secret subgroups. It was an era obsessed with the strange combination of racial solidarity and the occult.
Magic and occult ideas dominated thinking of virtually every class of society in the late 19th century.
But of all the mystics of the time, one person's writings may have been the genesis of the phenomenal occult frenzy. Madame Helene Petrova Blavatsky.
I would say that Blavatsky provided the metaphysical framework that has gathered together the vast, vast streams of the ancient wisdom into a coherent system.
Blavatsky founded the Theosophical Society in 1875 and established herself as a kind of sage in the occult realm. Theosophists believe in a combination of Asian and occult ideas to promote the concept of a superior Aryan race.
She traveled throughout the world for spiritual reasons.
Madame Blavatsky wrote, well, several books, but the particularly influential one was The Secret Doctrine.
It was based on knowledge she acquired in India and Tibet.
She claimed that she got her teachings from secret messages from Mahatmas in the Himalayas.
This groundbreaking book, written in 1885, did something no other book had ever done. It combined science and religion.
Blavatsky based her writings on the myth of Atlantis. In Plato's myth of Atlantis, Plato related that the priest of Isis relayed to the poet Solon the ancestry of the Aryan race. H.P. Blavatsky was given the secret doctrine by the masters of wisdom through telepathy. This is all based on the notion that Atlantis had 7 root races. The secret doctrine maintains that 7 races originated in Atlantis and that one of the 7 were the Aryans. Although there were supposedly 6 other Atlantean races, Blavatsky tells us that the Aryans were the master race or supermen of the Atlantean races. She writes, "They did not become supermen by ordinary evolution or mutation. They took a quantum leap upward in order to give them the necessary faculties to live in the post-Diluvian world." Another prophet of Hitler and Ariosophy, Hans von Liebenfels, promoted an Aryo-Christian doctrine. According to Liebenfels' theology, the fall simply denoted the racial compromise of the Aryans due to wicked interbreeding with lower animal species. The consequence of these persistent sins was the creation of several mixed races, which threatened the proper and sacred authority throughout the world, especially in Germany, where this race was most numerous.
In other words, he took the Bible and rewrote it and said, okay, the fall of man that's depicted in the Bible was actually a metaphor for Aryans interbreeding with animals.
Liebenfels' earliest books introduced the idea of theozoology, a new science inspired by H.P. Blavatsky's secret doctrine. Within his theozoology, he suggested that early Aryans committed bestiality with lower species, and this created a different branch of humanity, separate from the pure Aryans.
Now, Lebensborn communities were communities set up in the Third Reich where choice young women, very physically fit, very beautiful, blonde-haired and blue eyes, were put in these camps to breed Aryans, and men of pure Aryan stock were brought in to breed with these women. That as a result, you'd have to eliminate marriage and other values of Western Christianity, but that's exactly what they were doing. They were breeding or trying to breed the God-man. They carried social Darwinism to its logical conclusions.
Liebenfels, like many others of the time, took the Bible and perverted it into an Aryan document. The New Testament spoke of the coming Christ to redeem the chosen Aryan race. and the disposal of racial inferiors was a sacrifice to God, and he felt that World War I represented the messianic fullness of time.
After the First World War, a bizarre cult called the Vril Society flourished in Germany. It took its name from a supernatural force, Vril, that could bestow immense power on anyone who could harness it. The concept of Vril was expounded in a book published in 1871 called The Coming Race, written by Edward Bulwer Lytton.
In that book, he describes an underground race called the Vrilia.
And they have complete mastery of the Vril force.
And with that, they can do almost anything.
It was pure science fiction, but it captured an audience and made them firm believers in Vril. Most sources say that the Vril Society was founded in 1918 at a mysterious meeting in the Bavarian town of Berchtesgaden. It was a holiday center and would later house the country retreat of Adolf Hitler. It is said that in a mountain lodge, a group of occultists and high-ranking German nationalists secretly gathered to create a powerful inner circle called the All-German Society for Metaphysics, otherwise known as the Vril Society.
Essentially, it was founded by two people, Rudolf von Sebottendorf.
Von Sebottendorf had been very active in the occult movement. He was a Freemason, an alchemist, and a founder of the Tula Society. Their belief in a mythical civilization was a precursor to Nazi Aryan ideas.
The real name was Adam Glauer, and he was the son of an engine driver, but he awarded himself a title of nobility.
Another important name under the Nazi movement would be Count Heinrich von Sebottendorf, the actual founder of the Tool-Gesellschaft. Sebottendorf and another member of this inner group of the Tool-Gesellschaft predicted that latent powers slumbering in the blood of the Aryan race would unfold in the 20th century under Adolf Hitler. Superman would then appear, they believed, awakening the Germanic people to the glories of the ancient heritage. Sebottendorf was the author of a book titled Before Hitler Came, The Early Years of the Nazi Movement.
In creating the Vril Society, von Sebottendorf was joined by a man who would darkly influence world history.
The other main person within it was Dietrich Eckart.
He was said to have strong powers of persuasion, particularly in his anti-Semitic writings.
Dietrich Eckart was Hitler's closest personal friend between 1918 and his death in 1923.
Eckart believed he was paving the road for Germany's own savior.
Dietrich Eckart met Adolf Hitler when Hitler gave a speech before party members in 1919. The Tool Society was a secretive group of occultists who believed in the coming of a German Messiah who would redeem Germany after its defeat in World War I. Eckart expressed his anticipation in a poem he wrote months before he first met Hitler. In the poem, Eckart refers to the Great One, the Nameless One, whom all can sense, but no one saw. When Eckart met Hitler, Eckart was convinced that he had encountered the prophesied Redeemer. Dietrich Eckart, one of the most famous prophets of Hitler, and the one whom initiated Adolf Hitler into the occult. Hitler wrote of him in the last sentence of Mein Kampf. He was one of the best who devoted his life to the awakening of our people, in his writing, in his thoughts, and finally, in his deeds.
He actually met Adolf Hitler in 1919 and, of course, indoctrinated him in this whole idea of bringing about a world occult movement.
Eckart was also one of the masterminds behind the Nazi Party.
Eckart saw Hitler as the German Messiah. He saw him as the man sent to save the country. He did have certain perverse gifts, and not least of which was his ability to train Hitler in the use of, what one might loosely call the power of a human heart and human mind.
Hermann Goering, commander of the Luftwaffe, was said to be a member.
It is virtually certain that he was introduced to it in around 1920, probably by Dietrich Eckart.
Alfred Rosenberg, minister of the Third Reich, probably a member.
Rosenberg believed that the Aryan race was superior to every other, of course, and, you know, he believed that Jesus was not Jewish, but an Aryan.
Rudolf Hess, deputy Führer, another likely member.
Hess believed everything. He used to sleep with magnets under his bed to try and draw off harmful emanations.
Martin Bormann, chief of the Nazi Party Chancellery, also thought to be a member.
Martin Bormann was probably considered the most evil one. He was an avowed and open Satanist. He was quite categorical about his desire to exterminate Christianity as well as Judaism, because he saw Christianity as simply, as he called it, a Jewish perversion.
Just as in the book, The Revelation, the beast has his false prophet, so did Adolf Hitler, the high priest of Ariosophy, Heinrich Himmler. Himmler's personal agenda was to amass enough data, archaeological, historical, cultural, religious, and occult, to prove that the Aryan race was superior to all other races on Earth, and that the Germans were the inheritors of the Aryan bloodline. Karl Maria Williget would become the best friend of Heinrich Himmler and was given the official assignment for prehistorical research in the SS between 1933 and 1939. Williget claimed to possess ancestral clairvoyant memory, which enabled him to recall the history and experiences of his tribe over thousands of years. Williget believed that Germany was originally settled in 228,000 BC by people from the lost continent of Atlantis. He insisted that the Bible was much older than anyone thought, that the events of the New Testament had taken place in Germany and not Palestine.
So you see here that we have proof of people that prepared the way for Hitler and prepared the hearts and minds of the German people by introducing occult, Luciferian, satanic thoughts and ideas into the psyche of an entire nation.